For 22 years, I fixed their problems while my wife mocked my cute little paychecks to her rich friends. Then she made one joke too many at dinner. I didn't explode. I didn't argue. I just smiled and started planning. Turns out, quiet men are the most dangerous when they finally stop being quiet. She's about to learn what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you everything. My name is Daniel Powell. I'm 47 years old, and I've been fixing roofs for 22 years. I run my own roofing company with 6 guys on the crew. It's honest work that paid for everything we have. The house, cars, Dylan's engineering program at State, Chloe's pre-med track at Northwestern. That Tuesday night at Romano's changed everything. Stephanie had planned this dinner for weeks. Her college friends were visiting, and she wanted to impress them at the fanciest Italian place downtown. The dinner started well. Jennifer and Susan were pleasant, asking about the kids, complimenting the house renovations I'd done. We shared laughs about college memories. I was actually enjoying myself. Then the wine arrived. The second bottle. Jennifer started bragging about her husband's law firm promotion, their Hamptons vacation home plans. Susan chimed in about her husband's new accounting partnership. I saw that look in Stephanie's eyes, the tightness around her mouth when she fell behind in whatever competition she was always running. Well, Stephanie said, swirling her wine, Daniel's doing really well with his little roofing business too. The word little stung, but I kept cutting my chicken parmesan. Must be good money in construction, Jennifer said politely. Oh, it's adorable, really, Stephanie continued, wine loosening her tongue. His paychecks are so cute, like a starter salary at an entry-level job. The table erupted in laughter. Jennifer nearly choked on her wine. Susan covered her mouth, shoulders shaking with giggles. I set down my fork and looked at my wife. Really looked at her. The woman I'd been married to for 22 years, basking in her friends' laughter at my expense. I didn't say a word, just smiled, reached for my wallet, and signaled the waiter. Check, please, I said calmly. I paid the bill, $238, left a $40 tip, helped Stephanie with her coat, and walked her to the truck. You know I was just kidding, right? She giggled on the drive home. You're so sensitive sometimes, Danny. I nodded. Hilarious, I said. But something had shifted inside me that night. Something final. As I listened to Stephanie's contented breathing in bed, I wasn't thinking about her words. I was thinking about consequences. 22 years of marriage had taught me one thing. Stephanie never appreciated what she had until it was gone. The next morning started like any other Wednesday. Stephanie slept until 9, came downstairs in her silk robe, and made herself coffee while I finished my eggs and toast. I'd been up since 5:30, reviewing job estimates and checking the weather forecast. Good morning, honey, she said, kissing my cheek like nothing had happened. You're up early again. I nodded, sipping my coffee. Got the Henderson roof starting today. Big job. She hummed absently, scrolling through her phone. That's when I heard the front door open. Dylan's voice carried through the house. Dad? You home? My son walked into the kitchen, still in his State University sweatshirt, looking tired. Behind him came Chloe, my daughter, her Northwestern medical school bag slung over her shoulder. Hey kids, I said, genuinely surprised. What brings you home midweek? Dylan grabbed a piece of toast from my plate. Had to pick up some documents for financial aid. The office needed updated income verification. Stephanie looked up from her phone. Oh, that's nice. How's school going? Actually, Chloe said, setting down her bag, we wanted to talk to both of you about something. Dylan nodded, suddenly serious. Yeah, it's about money. And college costs. I felt my stomach tighten. Had they heard about last night somehow? We've been doing some research, Chloe continued, looking at our tuition payments, living expenses, all of it. Dylan's engineering program costs $38,000 a year. My medical school is $46,000. That's over $80,000 annually, Dylan added, looking directly at Stephanie. And we realized something. Mom, you always talk about managing our finances, but Dad's the one writing every single check. Stephanie's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. We pulled our payment records, Chloe said softly. Dad, your business account pays our tuition directly. Your personal account covers our housing, meal plans, textbooks, everything. Dylan crossed his arms. Mom, your name isn't on any of our school paperwork. Not as a financial contributor, not as a guarantor, nothing. The kitchen went dead silent. I watched Stephanie's face cycle through confusion, then defensiveness, then something that looked like panic. Well, that's just how we organize things, she said, forcing a laugh. Dad handles the technical payments, but it's our money. Is it though? Chloe asked quietly. Because we also looked up average contractor earnings in our area. Dad's roofing company is pulling in good money. Really good money. Dylan nodded. We talked to some of Dad's clients when we were home last month. The Hendersons said Dad's crew just finished their neighbor's roof for 18 grand. The Mitchells said their new roof cost 22,000. I sat perfectly still, watching this conversation unfold. Mom, Chloe said, her voice gentle but firm, we love you, but we need to understand something. Dad's paying for everything, isn't he? The house, the cars, our education, everything. Stephanie stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. We're family. We don't keep score like that. But you do keep score, Dylan said. You keep score with your friends. We heard about last night. My blood turned cold. You heard about what? Jennifer called her daughter this morning. Chloe explained. Sarah's my sorority sister. She told me what you said about Dad's paycheck at dinner, Mom. Stephanie's face went white. Sarah said you called Dad's earnings cute and adorable in front of everyone. Dylan continued, his voice hardening, like he was some kind of charity case. I looked at my children, then at my wife. 22 years of marriage, and my kids had figured out in one morning what Stephanie apparently never understood. Dad, Chloe said, walking over to hug me, we want you to know we're grateful for everything. And Mom, Dylan added, his tone cold, we're disappointed. After the kids left that afternoon, I made a decision. 22 years of being the quiet provider was enough. I walked into my home office and opened my laptop. First stop, our joint checking account. Stephanie was in the living room, on the phone with her mother, probably spinning some version of events where she was the victim. I could hear her voice through the walls, high and defensive. I transferred every dollar from our joint account into my business savings. $43,000. Then I moved the money from our shared emergency fund. Another 18 grand. Finally, I emptied our vacation savings account. Money I'd been putting aside for a trip to Europe Stephanie kept talking about. Total moved, $67,000 for $112. Next, I called my bank and removed Stephanie's access to all accounts where my name was primary. The mortgage account, the home equity line, the investment portfolio, everything. The banker, Mrs. Patterson, was professional but thorough. Mr. Powell, I need to confirm this as your request. You're removing Stephanie Powell's access to all accounts where you're the primary holder. That's correct, I said, effective immediately. And you understand she'll no longer be able to make withdrawals, transfers, or access account information. I understand perfectly. Then I made the hardest call. My insurance agent, Tom Bradley, had been handling our policies for 15 years. Tom, I need to make some changes to our coverage. Remove Stephanie as a beneficiary on my life insurance policy. There was a pause. Dan, that's a big change. You sure about this? I'm sure. Make Dylan and Chloe the beneficiaries. 50-50 split. All right. What about the auto insurance? Both cars are on your policy. Keep my truck. Remove Stephanie's BMW. That'll leave her without coverage, Dan. She can get her own policy. After I hung up, I sat in my office chair, looking at the bank statements on my screen. For the first time in years, I felt like I had control over my own money. That evening, Stephanie tried to use her debit card at the grocery store. It was declined. She tried again, thinking it was a machine error. Declined again. She called me from the parking lot, voice tight with embarrassment. Daniel, something's wrong with our bank card. It's not working. Which card? I asked, though I knew exactly which one. Our joint checking. The cashier says it's declined, but that's impossible. We just had our paychecks deposited. My paycheck was deposited, I corrected, into my business account. Silence. Then, what do you mean your business account? I mean I moved our money into accounts where only my name is on the signature cards. You can't do that. That's our money. Actually, Stephanie, it's my money. The money I earned with my cute little paychecks. I could hear her breathing hard through the phone. Daniel, this is ridiculous. Move the money back right now. No, I said simply. From now on, you'll need to ask me before spending anything. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Maybe it's time you learn to appreciate those adorable little earnings you find so amusing. I hung up and went back to my paperwork. For the first time in months, I was smiling. Friday morning brought the first real test. Stephanie's weekly hair appointment at Salon Elegance. Her regular standing appointment that cost $160 every week for highlights and styling. I was in the kitchen drinking coffee when my phone rang. Stephanie's voice was strained. "Daniel, I need you to call the salon. My card isn't working, and I'm sitting here with foils in my hair looking like an idiot." "What's the problem?" I asked, though I knew exactly what was happening. My credit card was declined, the one linked to our joint account. Janet is being very patient, but there are other clients waiting. I sipped my coffee slowly. "That's unfortunate. Daniel, stop playing games. Call the bank and fix this." "There's nothing to fix, Stephanie. The account you're trying to use doesn't have your name on it anymore." I could hear Janet, the salon owner, talking quietly in the background, probably trying to figure out what to do with a half-processed client who couldn't pay. "This is insane," Stephanie hissed into the phone. "I've been coming here for 3 years. Janet knows me. Knowing you and trusting you with credit are two different things," I replied. "Maybe you should have thought about that before making jokes about my income." "Daniel, please. People are staring. Just transfer some money so I can pay Janet and we'll discuss this at home." I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. "No." "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, no. I won't transfer money. If you want your hair done, figure out how to pay for it yourself." The line went quiet except for background salon noise. When Stephanie spoke again, her voice was barely controlled. "Fine. I'll pay with my personal credit card and we'll settle this later." "Good luck with that," I said and hung up. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Stephanie, crying now. "Daniel, my personal card was declined too. The credit limit is maxed out. I need help." For a moment, I almost caved. 22 years of marriage, and I'd never heard her sound so desperate. But then I remembered Tuesday night. Her laughter, her friend's amusement, the word adorable. "Stephanie, call your mother. Maybe she can wire you some money." "I can't call my mother for salon money. That's humiliating." "Not as humiliating as mocking your husband's paycheck in front of friends," I said quietly. "Figure it out." I hung up and poured myself another cup of coffee. An hour later, Stephanie came home with wet hair, no styling, and eyes red from crying. She'd apparently had to leave the salon with the chemical treatment half finished, promising Janet she'd return with payment. She stood in the doorway of my office, looking smaller than I'd seen her in years. "Daniel, we need to talk." I looked up from my computer. "About what?" "About this crazy financial stunt you're pulling." "It's not a stunt, Stephanie. It's a wake-up call." People at the salon were whispering. Janet had to ask me to leave. Do you know how embarrassing that was? I leaned back in my chair. "Now you know how I felt Tuesday night." Her face flushed. "That was just harmless joking around." "Was it?" "Because it didn't feel harmless to me." She sat down in the chair across from my desk. "Okay, maybe I went too far. But this is extreme, Daniel. Cutting off all my access to money." "You still have access," I said. "You just have to ask me first." "That's not how marriages work." "Really?" "Because for 22 years, that's exactly how our marriage worked. You spent, I earned. You never asked permission, never checked balances, never worried about whether the money was there." Her mouth opened and closed without words. "The difference now," I continued, "is that you'll have to acknowledge where the money comes from. Every time you want to spend it, you'll have to ask the man with the cute little paycheck." Monday brought an unexpected visitor. Vivian Montgomery, Stephanie's mother, pulled into our driveway in her silver Mercedes. I watched from my office window as she marched to the front door like a general heading into battle. Stephanie had clearly called for reinforcements. I answered the door before she could ring the bell. "Hello, Vivian. This is a surprise." "Daniel," she said curtly, pushing past me into the house. "We need to talk." Stephanie appeared from the kitchen, eyes red-rimmed. She'd been crying off and on since the salon incident Friday. "Mom, thank goodness you're here," Stephanie said, shooting me an accusatory look. Vivian settled into our living room like she owned it. At 69, she still carried herself with the entitled bearing of old money, even though her late husband had lost most of their fortune in bad investments years ago. "Daniel, sit down," she commanded. "Stephanie tells me you've lost your mind." I remained standing. "Has she told you why?" "She mentioned some silly dinner conversation that you're overreacting to." "Silly?" I looked at Stephanie. "Is that how you described it to your mother?" Stephanie looked away. I told her there was a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I said to Vivian. Your daughter publicly mocked my income in front of her friends. Called my paychecks cute and adorable like I was a child playing dress-up. Vivian waved her hand dismissively. Oh, that. Women talk, Daniel. It doesn't mean anything. It meant something to me. Well, you're being ridiculous, Vivian snapped. Stephanie says you've cut off all her access to money. That's financial abuse. I sat down across from them both. Vivian, let me ask you something. Who pays the mortgage on this house? Well, you do, but dash. Who pays for Stephanie's car, her credit cards, her spa treatments, her shopping trips? You do, but that's what husbands dash. Who paid for Dylan and Chloe's college tuition? Every semester for the past 3 years. Vivian's mouth closed. I did, I continued, with my cute little paychecks. The same paychecks Stephanie finds so amusing. Stephanie stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. Mom, tell him he's being unreasonable. But Vivian was looking at me with a different expression now. Daniel, how much do you actually earn? Enough to support your daughter's lifestyle for 22 years without her ever having to work or contribute financially. But Stephanie manages the household dash. Stephanie spends money. I earn it, manage it, and pay the bills. Vivian turned to her daughter. Stephanie, is this true? Mom, you don't understand. Marriage is a partnership dash, where one partner works and the other spends. I finished. That was fine when there was mutual respect. But respect is a two-way street. Vivian stood up slowly. Stephanie, we need to talk. Privately. They went into the kitchen, and I could hear their muffled conversation through the walls. Vivian's voice was sharp, disappointed. Stephanie's was defensive, then pleading. When they returned, Vivian looked exhausted. Daniel, I apologize. I didn't realize how things actually worked in your household. Stephanie's face was streaked with fresh tears. Mom, you're supposed to be on my side, Stephanie whispered. I am on your side, Vivian replied. That's why I'm telling you to fix this before you lose a good man. Tuesday evening, Stephanie made her most desperate play yet. I was in the garage, organizing my tools after a long day on the Henderson roof, when she appeared in the doorway holding something behind her back. Daniel, we need to talk. I looked up from my toolbox. About what? She stepped closer, her face a mixture of nervousness and determination. About us. About our future. Stephanie, if this is another attempt to get me to restore your bank access dash. It's not about money, she interrupted. It's about family. She pulled her hand from behind her back, revealing a white plastic stick. A pregnancy test. I'm pregnant, she announced, watching my face carefully. I stared at the test, then at her. You're pregnant. Yes. 8 weeks. I set down my wrench and really looked at my wife. 8 weeks. So, you got pregnant right around the time you were making jokes about my income? The timing doesn't matter. What matters is we're having a baby. I took the test from her hand and examined it. 2 pink lines. Positive. But something fell off. Stephanie, you're 44 years old. We haven't been intimate in months. You've been on birth control for years. These things happen, she said quickly. We need to put this financial nonsense behind us and focus on our growing family. I studied her face. After 22 years of marriage, I knew her tells. The way she touched her neck when she was nervous. The slight tremor in her voice when she was lying. Show me the doctor's report, I said calmly. What? The blood test from your doctor confirming the pregnancy. Show me the paperwork. Her face went pale. I just took this test this morning. I haven't been to the doctor yet. Stephanie, you discovered you were pregnant this morning, and your first thought was to tell me tonight in the garage? Not to call your doctor, not to make an appointment, not to share the news with your mother who was just here yesterday. I wanted to tell you first. I pulled out my phone and started typing. Let's call Dr. Peterson's office right now and schedule an appointment. Daniel, it's after hours. They have an emergency line. I continued dialing. Stop, she said, grabbing my phone. Fine. It's not real. I looked at her steadily. The pregnancy test isn't real. The test is real, but... She broke down crying. I bought it at the pharmacy. They sell positive tests online. For pranks. For pranks. I was desperate, she sobbed. You won't talk to me. You've cut off all my money. The kids are angry with me. I thought if you believed we were having a baby, you'd realize what's important. I took my phone back and put it in my pocket. What's important, Stephanie, is honesty. Something you seem to have forgotten. I was going to tell you the truth eventually. When? After I'd restored your bank access? After I'd apologized for overreacting to your harmless jokes? She couldn't meet my eyes. Stephanie, you just tried to manipulate me with a fake pregnancy. Do you understand how twisted that is? I'm sorry, she whispered. No, you're not sorry. You're caught. There's a difference. I walked past her toward the house, then stopped. Pack a bag, Stephanie. What? Pack a bag and go stay with your mother for a while. I need time to think about whether this marriage is worth saving. Daniel, please. We can work this out. Maybe we can. But not tonight, and not with you in this house. By Friday, Stephanie's world was shrinking fast. Jennifer hadn't returned her calls since Tuesday. Susan's texts had stopped completely. Even her book club group chat had gone suspiciously quiet. I was replacing shingles on the Thompson house when Stephanie called, voice shaky. Daniel, something's wrong. None of my friends are responding to me. Maybe they're busy, I said, securing another shingle. Jennifer was supposed to meet me for lunch today. She never showed up. I climbed down from the ladder. Did you call the restaurant? She canceled last minute. Said something came up. Things come up, Stephanie. Not with Jennifer. We've had lunch every Friday for 2 years. That evening, Stephanie tried organizing her usual wine night. She sent texts to her circle, offering to host at our house. The responses trickled in slowly. Jennifer had a family obligation. Susan wasn't feeling well. Maria had work commitments. By Saturday, Stephanie was desperate. She drove to Jennifer's house uninvited, something she'd never done before. Jennifer wasn't home, she told me when she returned. But her car was in the driveway, and I could see lights on upstairs. Maybe she was taking a nap. She saw me, Daniel. She looked out the bedroom window when I rang the doorbell, then just disappeared. Sunday brought the final blow. Stephanie's book club met monthly at different members' houses. This month was supposed to be at our place. Saturday evening, she received a group text. They changed the location, she said, staring at her phone, to Maria's house. Without asking me. Did they uninvite you? No, but... She showed me the message thread. Everyone had responded with enthusiasm about the new location. No one had asked why the change or mentioned Stephanie. They're avoiding me, she whispered. I looked at my wife, sitting at our kitchen table in her expensive pajamas, finally understanding what isolation felt like. Stephanie, what do you think happened? I don't know. Everything was fine until... Until what? Until that stupid dinner Tuesday night. The dinner where you mocked my income. She nodded miserably. But that was just girl talk. We always tease each other. Did they tease their husbands that night? Stephanie thought about it. No. Jennifer talked about how proud she was of Robert's promotion. Susan bragged about Mark's new partnership. And you. I made jokes about your paycheck. The realization hit her face like cold water. Maybe your friends respect their husbands, I said quietly. And maybe they're wondering why you don't respect yours. Wednesday evening brought the moment I'd been planning for days. Stephanie had been begging me to take her out somewhere, anywhere, to prove we were still a functioning couple. Her isolation from friends had left her desperate for social contact. Please, Daniel. Just dinner at Romano's. Like we used to. I agreed, but I had conditions. You pay for dinner tonight. What? You keep saying you want to contribute. Tonight's your chance. Daniel, you know I don't have access to our accounts. You have that personal credit card. It's maxed out. Then figure something else out. She spent an hour on the phone with her bank, somehow securing a temporary credit increase. We drove to Romano's, the same restaurant where this all started. Stephanie ordered carefully, choosing cheaper items than usual. The appetizer she normally loved was $28, so she skipped it. She chose the house salad instead of the specialty Caesar. Halfway through dinner, Jennifer and Susan walked in with their husbands. They spotted us immediately, but chose a table across the room. Oh God, Stephanie whispered. They're here. Go say hello, I suggested. I can't. Not after how they've been avoiding me. I watched Jennifer and Susan laugh with their husbands, clearly enjoying their evening. Robert was telling some story that had Jennifer wiping tears from her eyes. Mark was holding Susan's hand across the table. Stephanie, look at them. Really look. She glanced over reluctantly. Do you see how they're treating their husbands? They're just having dinner. Jennifer is hanging on Robert's every word. Susan is laughing at Mark's jokes. They're showing their men respect and admiration. Stephanie looked down at her salad. Now think about how you treated me the last time we were here. When the check came, Stephanie's card was declined. The waiter returned quietly, discreetly whispering the news. Try it again, Stephanie said, face flushing. Second attempt. Declined. I sat back and waited. Across the room, Jennifer had noticed our situation. She whispered something to Robert, who glanced our way with obvious sympathy. Daniel, please, Stephanie whispered urgently. People are watching. I told you that you were paying tonight. My card isn't working. Then you'll need to figure something out. Stephanie pulled out her phone with shaking hands, calling her bank. The conversation was brief and humiliating. Her temporary credit increase had been reversed due to her payment history. Jennifer approached our table cautiously. Everything okay, Stephanie? Fine, Stephanie said quickly. Just a small issue with my card. Jennifer looked at me, then back at Stephanie. You might want to call him, she said quietly, nodding toward me. The words hung in the air. Even Jennifer understood who actually controlled our finances. I paid the check and left a 20% tip. As we walked out, I could feel every eye in the restaurant on us. In the car, Stephanie broke down completely. This is humiliating, Daniel. Now you know how I felt, I said, starting the engine. Point made. You win. Can we please go back to normal now? I looked at my wife, mascara streaked, finally understanding what it felt like to be powerless in public. Stephanie, this isn't about winning. This is about respect. 2 weeks after the restaurant incident, Stephanie made her last desperate attempt at reconciliation. She'd been staying at her mother's house since I asked her to leave, but Vivian had apparently grown tired of hosting her unemployed daughter. Daniel, I want to come home, she said when she called Tuesday evening. This is your home, Stephanie. But the rules have changed. What rules? You get a job. You contribute financially. You show respect for the man who supported you for 22 years. I don't know how to get a job. I haven't worked since before Dylan was born. Then you'll learn. Daniel, please. I've been thinking about what I did wrong. I understand now. Do you? I took you for granted. I shouldn't have joked about your income. It wasn't joking, Stephanie. It was cruel. There was silence on the line. Then, what do you want me to do? Prove you've changed. Get employment. Any employment. Show me you understand the value of earning money before you spend it. And then we'll talk about marriage counseling. Thursday, Stephanie called with news. I got a job. Where? Janet's salon. Answering phones, booking appointments, cleaning up. It's only $10 an hour, but it's something. I felt a spark of hope. How many hours? 30 a week. Janet says if I work out, she might train me as an assistant. For the first time in months, Stephanie sounded humble. Daniel, I calculated it out. At $10 an hour, I'd have to work 6 weeks to afford one of my usual spa days. And I finally understand what you meant about appreciating your earnings. It's a start, Stephanie. Can I come home this weekend? Just to talk. I considered it. Saturday. Lunch. We'll see how it goes. Saturday arrived with Stephanie looking different. Her hair was simpler, her clothes more practical. She'd driven herself in her BMW. She'd somehow managed to get her own insurance policy. Janet taught me to do my own highlights, she said, touching her hair self-consciously. Saved me $160. We sat at our kitchen table like strangers feeling each other out. I've been thinking about Dylan and Chloe, she said, about how disappointed they were in me. They were protecting their father. I know, and they were right to. She looked at me directly. Daniel, I was a terrible wife. I took everything you provided and mocked you for providing it. Why? Because it made me feel important to my friends. Like I was above my husband instead of grateful for him. It was the first real accountability I'd heard from her. I want to earn your respect back, she continued. Not demand it, earn it. That's going to take time, Stephanie. I know, but I'd like to try. I looked at my wife, really looked at her, for the first time in months. She seemed smaller, humbler, more real than the woman who'd mocked me at Romano's. Marriage counseling, I said. Weekly sessions. And you keep the job. Deal. And Stephanie. Yes. If you ever disrespect me publicly again, we're done. No second chances. I understand. 8 months later, our marriage looked completely different. Stephanie had kept her word about everything. She'd been promoted to assistant manager at the salon, earning $15 an hour. She paid for her own gas, her own lunches, her own small indulgences. The woman who once spent $300 on dinner without blinking now clipped coupons and compared prices. The marriage counseling had been brutal at first. Dr. Reynolds didn't let Stephanie minimize her behavior or blame me for overreacting. Week after week, we unpacked 22 years of financial resentment and emotional neglect. The dynamic in your marriage was unsustainable, Dr. Reynolds explained during one session. Stephanie, you were treating Daniel like an ATM rather than a partner. I see that now, Stephanie replied. I just didn't understand how much work went into earning the money I was spending. Dylan and Chloe had gradually warmed up to their mother again, but the relationship was different. They respected her effort to change, but they'd never forgotten how she treated me. Dad, you look happier, Chloe observed during Sunday dinner. Both of you do. She was right. Stephanie and I were rebuilding our relationship on mutual respect instead of financial dependence. When she wanted something expensive, she saved for it herself. When she contributed to household expenses, she did it proudly instead of reluctantly. The real test came when Jennifer invited us to a couple's dinner, the first social invitation Stephanie had received since the Romanos incident. Are you sure you want to go? I asked. I'm nervous, she admitted, but I want to show them we're working things out. At dinner, Stephanie was different. When the conversation turned to finances, she talked about her job at the salon with genuine pride. When Jennifer mentioned her husband's latest business success, Stephanie complimented both of them instead of feeling competitive. Daniel's roofing company landed 3 major contracts this month, she said. I'm so proud of how hard he works. The words were simple, but they meant everything. Driving home, Stephanie reached over and took my hand. Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for doing the work to save us. I love you, Daniel. The real you, not just what you provide. I love you too, Stephanie. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough. The roofing business was thriving, partly because word had spread about the hard-working contractor with integrity. Dylan was graduating with his engineering degree next month. Chloe had been accepted to medical school. Most importantly, Stephanie had learned to value what she had instead of taking it for granted. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you love is show them what life looks like without you.